Hi and welcome back to the Possum Stamps YouTube channel. My name is Marla and I'm with Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I'm sharing this autumn themed card using the Happy Camper stamp set from Possum Stamps. Let's take a look at the stamp set. This is a 4x8 stamp set. It is packed full of scene building goodness. You have a nightcap, 2 bears, one sleeping, one awake. You have some stars, you have a rock and a plant, and you have this sign that you can add, "Don't feed the bears," a trailer, you have this bush, a tree. I showed you the moon and the clouds. 4 sentiments. The first one says, "I can't believe it's your birthday." The second says, "Every day is an adventure." The third, "Barely awake." And finally, "You make me a happy camper." Let's jump into our project. I'm doing some no-line coloring. I'm going to show you the bear and a bush. I'm starting with some warm grays. I have a W6 marker and I'm going over the areas where I believe the shadows would be. I did stamp this on Copic friendly paper and I've stamped it using antique linen distress ink. As you can see, I'm going over the lines because I do want to make sure that I cover those lines up. I don't want that antique linen showing. That antique linen will absorb the ink. So I finished going over where I thought that the shadows would be, and then I'm going to blend it out with my next color, which is going to be a W4. I go over those same shadows and then I extend it out a little bit more. Once I finish with this W4, I'll come in with a W2 and then I'm going to blend that out a little bit further. This no-line coloring, I really think it gives a card a storybook feel. It's one of my very favorite ways to color, and once you get the hang of it, I think that it's super easy. Now with the antique linen, if I were to color over where the eyes and the nose are, I might lose some of that definition and it might be a little bit harder for me to be able to pinpoint how to put them in. So I'm going to bring in my Micron pen right here and I'm going to add that nose and those eyes. I'm going to really define them with that black pen. It works with the Copic marker. I'm not going to get any smearing by the time that I get to my final marker, which is going to be my W0. And you see how much white space I left. Once I use the W0 and blend that out, it's going to be dry, so I won't have any smearing. I do color the muzzle just with the W0, and I am going to bring in an R30 marker. That R30 marker is what I typically use, either an R30 or an R20 or 21 to add the to add the color to the inside of the ears. And I love to add cheeks to my critters, especially when I'm going for that storybook feel. Off camera, I will use a gel pen and add a little bit of freckles to the cheeks just to give it a little bit more cuteness. I like to go over my images twice. So as you can see, I'm coming back in with that W6 marker and then I blend it back out with the W4, the W2, and finally the W0. And then again, I am going to outline those outside areas of the ears that I forgot. So you can see that I did the tops of the ears, but I didn't bring the pen all the way around the outside of the ear, and that I will finish up. So while we're watching this coloring, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Possum Stamps, and I wanted to let you know that there is going to be an August release. There are a lot of fall and some Halloween goodies that are coming your way in August, so keep your eye out for that. There will be an Instagram hop. I believe that Instagram hop will be on August 1st, if I'm not mistaken. And then the videos and the blog posts will start coming, and you're going to get a lot of crafty inspiration. Now we're going to move on to the bush. This is the last piece that I'm going to color. I'm going to go over it with my darkest marker, and once I get that defined, I'll blend it out. These are YG markers. I believe I started with a YG5, and I think I go in with my mid-tone being a YG3, so I'm going to blend it right here. I can't really see the screen. The screen's pretty small right now, but I think it's a YG3, and then I blend it out with a lighter YG marker. I do determine that there's a little bit too much of the lighter marker, and I wanted to pinpoint it a little bit more. I wanted to bring in some of the darker color. So here I'm going to widen out my shadow. I tend to typically do my shadow in the center, so my lightest is always, my highlight is always going to be, not always, but most of the time going to be in the center of my object. And here it goes. I'm going to blend it all out with my lightest marker. I had some paper in my stash. I took the ombre piece and the floral piece, and I cut them, and then I taped them together with that purple tape. Once I had them taped together, I used a scallop die from my stash. It made this card panel approximately 4 by 5 1/4, and I need to cover up that seam, so I'm using this gold ribbon to cover that up. Now you could have cut another piece of pattern paper. I had plenty of pattern paper that would have coordinated with this, but I chose to go with the gold ribbon. As you can see, I colored up my tree in autumn colors. I went for more of an autumn feel with this card. Once I get this ribbon down, this ribbon is going to create some little issues that I'm going to have to overcome in this card, so stay tuned for that. Right now I'm just trimming down the trunk of this tree to make sure that it fits perfectly in the area that I've created. I get too much glue on that bush, so I'm going to take the second bush and I'm going to remove some of that glue with that. I will flank the left and the right side of the card with those bushes, and then we'll build our scene around it. I love dimension, so I had to add dimension to this tree. And I'll place my tree down, and then I'll add dimension to both the bear and the sign. I do end up gluing the rock directly to the background. I don't add any foam tape to the rock. Now I'm trying to figure out, do I want the feet underneath the ribbon? Do I want it on top of the ribbon? Finally, I decided that I did want it underneath the ribbon. And then I'm going to remove the foam tape from the sign. And once I get that removed, I'll place it over on the right hand side. And then I do end up gluing that rock down off camera. And there we go. So our scenes come together. I love the way that this paper coordinated with the autumn theme, but I did forget to stamp my sentiment, and I do this frequently. So I'm using the sentiment that says, I can't believe it's your birthday, but I only want to use the portion that says, I can't believe, on the front of my card. I have some Memento ink in Pear Tart, and I'm going to take some purple tape and I'm going to mask off the portion of the stamp that says it's your birthday. I'll ink up the portion that says I can't believe, take the tape off, and stamp it on to my card panel. Thank goodness for the Misty, no harm, no foul. I got a perfect stamp. I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the back of this panel and center it onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding card base. Once I get that centered, I'm going to mess around with this ribbon. I'm going to add a little bit of glue. I'm going to decide that it's still a little bit too lumpy. Finally, I'm going to add 2 more pieces of foam tape underneath the ribbon. That will make me happy, and that's going to be my finished card for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment and let me know if you like making autumn themed cards. And then thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.